First impression. Come on, sunlight. Yes? Bright sunlight, and then the breeze blowing her veil around her face. It's hot, seen more readily in the face of the young sun. We'll come back to his face soon. Where did Monet get his models? Well, that's Mrs. Monet, and that's her son. It's handy to have relatives on tap. She is blocking the sun, casting her face and clothes into shadow, apart from a few bits around the edges. Her clothes are very light, maybe even white, receiving reflected light from the ground and the sky behind us. The parasol, while itself in shadow, has the strong light of the sun forcing itself through the material. Her sun is coming up onto the crest, but is still below and back, creating depth in the painting. Beneath her feet, on the crest of a hill, are summer flowers with vigorous grasses and foliage, over which she casts a deep shadow, bringing into highlight the flowers and foliage which are receiving the direct sunlight. Monet painted this in 1875. It's quite large, about a metre high. He painted it en plein air, that is, directly outside. That would have been quite the feat. To capture anything outside, you're always working against the clock. Shadows move quickly, light and clouds change all the time. This means you're forced to work first on the large blocks of colour and then employ quick brush strokes to start modelling the shapes into 3 dimensions, leaving little time to spend on detail. With a large canvas, you need to move even more quickly. You would think that this is a disadvantage, but it does lead to a painting that is fresh, lively, giving the impression of a moment caught in time. Once you get back into the studio, it's usually best to resist trying to fix your painting, apart from small matters, as you will lose the freshness of the moment. Although Monet has named the painting Woman with a Parasol, the painting is at least equally about a warm and windy summer's day, a lovely walk outside in the fresh air while insects buzz and the light reflects off 1,000 flowers and grasses. We see the form of the woman, but not really her face. And as for her son, look at him up close and his face is almost comical. As an artist, you might feel the need to fix this, to make the face more lifelike. And if you did that, the attention of the viewer would go there, and the painting would become less of one of a summer's day, and more of, here's a picture of my son, out on a nice day with his mother. In other words, a happy snap. The point is that the painting has not been designed for us to pore over the skill of representing life in all its detail. Rather, it has been created as the portrayal of this moment. It needs to be seen as a whole, and as a whole it transports you to the place, to the moment. Monet did a similar scene over a decade later, and still employs the same techniques, the same quick strokes, soft edges, and barely formed objects. Now I'm sure, like me, when you stand in front of either of these paintings, after taking it in, you would then step up close and see the brushwork. All artists will do this, and I'm sure everyone else does too. When you do get close, the marvel then becomes, how did this seemingly disconnected series of roughly applied daubs resolve into a picture? And not just any picture, one that takes you there, to a bright sunny day, a strong breeze, flowers that seem ready to give you a dose of hay fever, the strength of light, even the heat of the outdoor temperature. And here up close you will find no detail at all. Not a single part of the painting contains anything that, upon close examination, could be considered as the definitive representation of a thing, of an object. The points of strongest contrast, the line of shadow on the grass, the parasol, none of these contain hard edges, nothing to make us focus on the objects. The painting has a somewhat narrow dynamic range, the difference between the darkest darks and the lightest lights, and these are not placed side by side to catch our attention. The overall effect is of abundant light. Because the subject is the day, the impression is of glorious summer. The people portrayed are mere props to the broader idea. Painting styles differ, of course. When Monet painted Impression Sunrise, you can see my video on that, it was not warmly received at all. The subject material and method was new, especially to an audience used to the output of the formal schools with their heroic subjects. Certain painting styles hold up well to closer examination, they almost invite it. You can see a depiction of Venice by Canaletto and get in close, marvelling at the detail. But to me, you lose some of the life. Compare it to Monet's close-up of the Palazzo da Mula, with his feeling for the water and light, or his Grand Canal, with the haze, reflections and Venice sky. Monet is showing us that the whole is greater than the mere assembly of the parts. He does this by fooling our eyes into filling in the detail themselves, without troubling or distracting our attention by actually providing details. It's the whole that matters. It's the impression. It's summer. There's a breeze. It's hot. We are there. When you go and look at a painting like that in a gallery, the trick, of course, is to stand right back and really take in the whole scene. And after that, you walk up close and look at the brushwork. You've got to be a bit careful about that because the attendants, of course, don't like people getting too close to the paintings. But I've got a certain method where I sort of swoop in, have a quick look, and then when I sense their attention, I move back again. Anyway, I'm sure their days are sometimes a bit long and I like to give them a bit of excitement. Please subscribe and lovely to see you next time.